Impact segment tonight, according to the Washington Post, some congressional Republicans are developing a plan to stop funding so that President Obama's executive order on immigration cannot be carried out. It's a bit complicated, but funds can be denied to certain agencies, and that's what the Republicans are investigating.
If Congress passed a funding bill that tied the president's hands on the immigration executive order, basically undid it or made it impossible to carry out, would the president veto such a bill?
Yes. And if the president does veto such a bill, the government shuts down and chaos ensues. With us now here in New York City, Monica Crowley, and from Washington, Kirsten Powers. So first of all, do you think the Republicans in the House are going to try to defund, say, Homeland Security, one of those agencies that deal with illegal immigration?
Well, I think the leadership doesn't want them to do that, and they will do everything. John Boehner will do everything he can, despite his public statements to the contrary, to make sure that doesn't happen. But we've seen it in the past. If there's a revolt and there's a way for them to do that, then maybe they will. But I think John Boehner is going to do everything he can to make sure that that does not happen.
And how do you see it?
I think John Boehner is going to do two things. Starting on Thursday, as early as Thursday, they could do an initial vote claiming that the executive branch does not have the constitutional authority to do what the president did last week.
That's a symbolic vote,
That is a symbolic vote, exactly.
Okay.
Then what he's planning is step two, which would be sort of a funding bill that's a hybrid between a continuing resolution on those immigration-related agencies only, as well as a massive omnibus funding bill to fund the rest of the government through September of 2015.
All right, so they pass both, and President Obama vetoes it. So what good is it?
Well, look, two things. Number one, if you separate them out, then he's going to be forced to veto strictly just the immigration.
Sure, but he doesn't care. What does he care?
Right. And what the Republicans are trying to do is say, let's wait until the new GOP Senate is convened in January, and then let's let them deal with it. The problem is, if the Republicans in Congress don't use their most powerful weapon that they have right now, which is the power of the purse, then this thing is going to go through, because there's no way that the new Congress is going to want to get all tied up in this again when they're starting fresh in January.
I don't see how
they
can
act
stop
now,
it, though. Even if they do pull it, the president vetoes it, you're into next year anyway. Now, on the basis of constitutionality powers, you're not a lawyer, but you follow this stuff. Would you be surprised if the Supreme Court comes back and says, this is unconstitutional, the president does not have the authority to stop deportations at will? Would you be surprised if that happens?
I think it's probably a close call. There are people on both sides who say take both sides. You have someone like Lawrence Tribe, who's one of the most respected constitutional scholars in the country. But he's a left-wing guy.
He's a left-wing guy.
But look, he is one of the most respected constitutional lawyers in the country who says that this is constitutional. There's another 100 lawyers who've sent a letter saying that it's constitutional, and then you have people on the other side saying that it's not constitutional. So, I don't think it's an open and shut case, but I also think I'm more inclined to the side of saying that the president has the prosecutorial discretion to do this,
but you wouldn't be surprised if the Supremes come back 5-4 and say no, he doesn't. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise you, would it?
Nor would I be surprised if they came back and said that it was constitutional.
All right, so you wouldn't be surprised either way. So for you, this is really boring and really doesn't matter, and you'd prefer to talk about something else.
Well, remember, the Supreme Court has slapped down this president on executive overreach on a number of issues, including recess appointments and some other things. So the Supreme Court is sort of,
I'm betting that they're going to say no. I'm betting they're going to say no.
Here's the other problem, too, Bill. When you talk about the potential of a government shutdown, obviously the Republicans don't want that, because we have such a corrupt media that writes it.
Absolutely. They'll bring it right around.
Republicans' fault all over again, so they don't want to go down that road. But at some point, Bill, the Republicans and others have to stand up for our constitutional system.
I don't think it has to be now, though.
Well,
let them get in. When they get in.
Now, when it's so egregious, then when?
When they get in and they consolidate power.
Maybe they'll do it then. But at some point, you got to stop it in its tracks.
I think when they get in and consolidate their power in the Senate and the House, and they can deliberate, all right, on a united front and say, we don't believe this is right. But now in a chaotic situation, you're absolutely right. The press is going to kill them with it.
You're more hopeful than I am.
I'm not hopeful about anything. I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen.
If they don't do it now, they're not going to do it.
All right, Powers, you can go home now and have fun, do whatever you want to do.
Thank you.
All right, ladies. Directly ahead, the War on Christmas begins. It's an annual event that many people deny. We'll show you the first cannon volley. And later, Carlos Cradhammer on whether the racial divide in America can ever be healed. Those reports after these messages.